What was the world like before Isaac Newton discovered gravity? Was everything just floating up to the sky?
Well, gravity was always there, so it
He just took the credit for it.
Because he had come up with laws of motion and things like that, gravity was a major part of his understanding of the world.
If gravity's real, as you seem to be claiming, how come it doesn't work on kites?
What was the Soviet Onion?
Well, I think you're labouring under a misapprehension, and you probably mean the Soviet Union.
No, it's onion. I saw it on a bit of paper earlier.
Well, that's probably been misspelt, or you can't read very well. But I think that you mean, in historical terms, the Soviet Union or the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
I don't want to be rude, but I think you're mansplaining a bit. Can we stick to the topic of the Soviet Onion, please?
OK.
What exactly was it? If you don't know, it's OK to say. You know, I won't judge you.
Well, if you want to talk about sort of Russian Soviet vegetables, we can. I mean, it was a deeply agrarian country. And so there were lots of onions, lots of potatoes, lots of other things.
Did they have turnips?
I think so. Cheap, easy to grow, hardy, great in a stew.
So how come you know so much about vegetables? Have you got an allotment? King Arthur came a lot, didn't he?
I think you mean that he's associated with the court of Camelot.
No, it definitely says King Arthur came a lot.
Camelot.
Camelot?
Yeah, it's his court where he held court. It's a place.
All right. But do we know if he came a lot? Or, like, just the same as an average man? Like, about a tablespoon?
The only evidence I have in that regard is that he is said to have had one child.
Right. So probably not.
Probably not.
How did Sir Walter Raleigh invent the potato?
Well, he didn't invent the potato, in that I don't think anyone actually has ever invented a root vegetable, because they're obviously being cultivated and used by people living in the Americas when he arrived there.
When Sir Walter Raleigh first saw potatoes, was he scared of them?
I think that when Sir Walter Raleigh first saw potatoes, not that we've any documented records on the moment when he first beheld a potato or a field of potatoes, but I don't think he was scared of them. This is a buccaneering character, and I think that he probably was able to take on and manage his emotions whilst engaging with potatoes at first sight.
Who are you?
I'm Ian Borden. I'm a professor of architecture at University College London.
What is a building?
A building is anything that anyone has built.
So my shoes are a building. How many three wise men were there?
Who knows?
Ah.
And
I don't understand bread sauce.
It's a great way of making a really savoury sauce.
Bread and sauce are two completely different things, aren't they?
Well, they are, but you can grind the bread down and then cook it in milk to make a really good sauce.
It just looks like sort of cheese. When Henry died, Edward became king, aged just 9 years old. Edward died aged 15, the youngest anyone had ever died of old age. When you teach a kid Shakespeare, do their heads grow physically bigger?
no.
It's comforting, isn't it, to realise we don't have nuclear weapons these days?
Well, it depends who you mean by we. The British have got nuclear weapons and have recently indeed decided to increase the number of warheads that they possess.
Yeah, but they're blanks, aren't they? They're full of blanks.
No, not at all. No. These are fully capable missile systems with nuclear warheads. Many other states have them. I'm afraid that nuclear war and the threat of nuclear destruction remains very much with us.
All right, can we talk about something a bit more cheerful?
Anything you like.
Do you like ABBA?
I love ABBA.
Yeah.
When a feminist looks in the mirror, do they see an equal woman or a better woman?
They quite often, like all of us, look for what they want to see, and they look for what they hope to see.
You see yourself back to front, don't you, in a mirror?
But not upside down, why is that?
Well, hopefully, because that's the way that mirrors are designed.
What power's a mirror? Sorry, you're not the mirrors expert, are you?
And to add insult to injury, that money will most likely have a picture of a man on it, because most banknotes don't have women on them, apart from the Queen, who's on all of them.
Maybe one day, human beings won't need buildings anymore. Although, for that to happen, we'd probably need to evolve skins made of bricks. And that might take at least another 30 years.
Macbeth is startled at dinner by the unexpected appearance of Banquo's ghost, played here for some reason by the letter H.
Which of you have done this?
But what was so great about Henry VIII? Why is he the king we all still remember, unlike, say, Richard V? Well, for one thing, he was fat, so he takes up more room in the memory.
So the Andromeda Galaxy is going to hit us.
The Andromeda Galaxy? A whole galaxy is going to hit us?
Yeah. On about the same time scale, actually.
So could we fall down a black hole?
Yeah, you could fall into one.
Is that the same? Because I heard that you could be, if, you know, this is one way that the world could end, is that we're all just sucked off through a hole. I mean, that must be terrible. Can you imagine what it would feel like to be sucked off through a hole?
Yeah.
Back in Queen Victorian times, women weren't allowed to vote, even though we had a female king. So some women formed a gang called the Suffragettes. 1 in 20 people has been a victim of crime, which means that 19 out of 20 people are criminals. No wonder we need police. Over the centuries, many things have been used as money, including amber, wheat, eggs, travellers' checks, feathers, book vouchers, lobsters, beads, gold, leather, nectar points, rice, peas, mugs and money. It was only the last of these that caught on. It's almost unbelievable that before Charles Darwin invented evolution in 1859, no one had ever evolved. Without him, none of us would be here today, except in the form of fossils or gibbons. This is the National Theatre. It's designed to look so horrible that people are glad to be inside watching boring plays. Today, Britain stands at a fork in its crossroads, and its people are asking questions. Now we've got our country back, what actually is it? Who are we and why? You know when you read a word in a book and you sort of hear that word in your head, how do they get the sounds into the ink to make it play in your head?
Well,
she wrote, "The world to an end will come in 1881, a claim which has recently been debunked by experts through a careful process of looking around and seeing the world still here." Today, some people choose to turn the outside of their homes into a giant advent crown. A jolly house covered in electric lights may be expensive and use a lot of power, but it's the perfect way to cheer up a world worried about climate change and dwindling resources. Queen Elizabeth I got a crown screwed on here in Westminster Abbey. It was in this ship Drake became the first person to circumcise the globe, which is probably why this sort of ship is called a clipper. People genuinely believed witches were amongst them, their fear fueled by leaked photos like this. Did an explorer ever try to sail into the sky? You know, find a bit of sea that's sort of going up and...
No.
We're often told to feel sorry for those who are alone at Christmas, but these days that's all of us, and it's brilliant. Why did Nelson always have one hand up his jumper? What was he doing up there?
He'd lost most of his right arm, so...
The pagans celebrated the solstice by cutting down holly and ivy and dragging it into their homes, along with a giant Yule log which they'd set fire to. It sounds rubbish, but with no app store to speak of, killing trees and plants was as good as entertainment got, even at Christmas. Despite being the stuff of nightmares, Santa is the world's most popular home intruder. But at Christmas 1914, there was a brief ceasefire. The fighting stopped. Soldiers got out of their holes and joined together in a place called No Man's Land, showing that even at moments of peace,
men will still divide into two sides and try to beat one another.